Yo, 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 it's another FCP Quickies edition, of course. As always, Mr. Senor Lee and myself, Ken Katnick, today. But Blindsided, man, I love the movie, but was it a Blindsided Con? Like, did they do him dirty? What happened to Michael Oher, bro?
Yeah, it's looking like it, man. So most of you probably already have heard that Michael Oher, former NFL star, Super Bowl champion, is making claims now that he was never adopted by the Tuohy family, but he was indeed tricked into conservatorship. Now, before we get any deeper into that, Kenny, let's go over what exactly does conservatorship mean.
Now, see, like I've heard the word flash around in the Britney Spears time, you know what I mean? But I didn't care too much about it because she always looks crazy. But as far as Merriam-Webster, of course, they have a few definitions as far as verbs and adjectives. But the main purpose of today is it's a person, official, or institution designated to take over and protect the interests of an incompetent. Now, to categorize someone is one thing, but to call them incompetent has a few layers. And as far as the law is concerned, incompetent means like lacking the qualities needed for effective action, unable to function properly, not legally qualified, inadequate to or unsuitable for a particular purpose. Now, what always struck me when the movie dropped, it wasn't too far from him actually getting drafted back in 2009. You know what I mean? It always rubbed me the wrong way that he seemed slow in the flick, but he was
Mm.
smart to be on the offensive line because that's not a stupid gig. You know what I mean? You got to be highly intelligent to even have the job. But I'm like, hey, it's Hollywood. I let it go from there. As far as conservatorship, what was your initial, did you always know about this one specifically? Because it's never in my regular vocabulary.
Similar to you with Britney Spears, I think that was the first time I ever heard of it. And to hear about it with Michael Orr, I mean, you hear words like tricked, and he was young, so now it opens the doors for a lot of doubt. It opens the doors for a lot of questions of the Tuohy's what do you call it? Shit, I'm losing the blank on the word, but it questions their what their initiative was at that time with Michael.
Mhm.
But then, of course, it's like, why now? But in some of the research, at least from people that I've heard speak online and social media, nothing confirmed, is that this isn't the first time he's speaking up. But
Mm,
I've never heard of it. Have you?
that's the thing. I haven't either. I've heard rumors of him, addressing this or bringing light to it in other ways or fashion, but it never gained enough traction where it was like a public thing. You know what I mean? It might have just been rumblings, maybe some paperwork getting mailed here or there, but I never heard of it other than this past weekend.
Mhm. Yeah. So on top of that, he's also mentioning, what they got out of this conservatorship. Really, it's the name, image, and likeness. And if you're paying attention to the college game now, a lot of athletes are making money off of the NIL. So now there was granted to them in August of 2004, 3 months after he turned 18.
That was
So
cold.
we're talking about millions, bro.
Like too much money. I believe even after they had the conservatorship agreement that I assume told him was adoption paperwork that he had to sign that kids never do. But in the event they hoodwinked them on that, like they end up securing a licensing deal where it paid them both 225 each, and it gave them 2.5% on
Mm.
the film's net proceeds. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I wanted to shoot them some bail in the beginning. Like, listen, you don't see a 6'6", 270-pound kid without, maybe he doesn't have a home, maybe he's in the foster world or in that realm, and just bring him in with a money bag over his head. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they initially brought him in over there. I honestly think it came from a genuine place of love, happiness, because you can't just let anyone in your home, regardless of the price tag. I am curious to know when it, at some point it switched, it flipped, because they had him sign his paperwork without him knowing. But the Blindside movie was released in '09, ended up making over 300 million, and I just assumed he was set. And then I was like, oh shit, he's a real guy. He's getting drafted. It's like, oh yeah, based on a true story. I said, oh, it all came together. Now, sadly, as the movie came out and he started to play in the league, you start people ask him, hey, how'd you like the movie? He's like, you know, it was a cool concept. It was loosely based on my story to get here, but its portrayal of me wasn't really my direction or like choice. I mean,
Mhm.
to choose or to label him as having a disability is why they brought him in, and those other items wasn't really jiving with real life. And I think that was the only thing that kind of bothered him at the time. And
Mhm.
honestly, I just felt he kept it quiet because the money was rolling in. It is what it is, like spilled milk in that sense. You know what I mean? But it was just weird that no one, he didn't know, like all the NFL contracts in your life, all these other items. I would hope that would come up at some point. You know what I mean? But it never did.
Yeah, and I mean, there's I think that there are probably several ways that someone with a disability can be really good at a sport, just out of the sense of the routine of it, understanding how to block out distractions. I mean, there is research that proves that neurodivergent kids can dedicate a little bit more time and focus to a specific activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for him to come out and say, that part of it was completely false, there's several things there, right? Do did he feel okay admitting to potentially, having some sort of disability? I mean, it's his right to say, I don't want to express that to the public.
Yeah.
But it's another thing when the movie just paints him in a certain way. And I think one of the funny things I've heard online is there's no way a 6 foot black kid has never played football ever anywhere that grew up in the middle of the hood. Like nobody was throwing him a football. Nobody was like, "Yo, come over here and block all these dudes." Like that was funny to see on social media.
It was crazy. It was crazy. Like even with all of this going on, like I gotta know, like, you think the kids knew? Like, do you really think they knew what the parents were kind of unfolding or like plotting in their head at this point?
Yeah. I mean, in my head, man, I mean, the daughter definitely probably saw, Mandingo walking in and she had no issues. Um, I think
See, you
the,
know we're
I
not
think
related.
the son, I mean, if anything, he was like, "What am I going to do? He's 6'6" and big as shit. There's really nothing I can do about this. As long as he's cool with me, I'm good." But honestly, to my core, I don't think they knew.
Yeah, I don't think they knew, man. If they did, that's some dirtbag stuff, man. That's some
Yeah,
real dirtbag stuff. But I don't think they did.
yeah,
Um,
and I don't want to sound, sexist out there because if a beautiful, what I'm saying, older woman came in, older girl came in to be adopted by my family, I have no complaints neither. You know what I'm saying? Like,
who am I? Who am I to stop this?
yeah, if I'm like 8, 9 years old and we adopt a 15, 16-year-old girl, it's like, thank you, dad. You know what I mean?
Big facts.
Hmm.
Uh, my another side question for you, like, listen, movie was great, but where's all the actors in all this? Like, where's everybody? Like, what what are they really saying about all this? Like, so I get it. You knew nothing. We played a game called, this is my job. I'm an actress, actor, whatever the case may be. Everybody's going about it. Hey, all's
Yeah.
great. 300 mil in the box office. Amazing.
Yep.
20, almost 15 years later, it's like, wait, what? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I want to,
Yeah.
Sandra's like, yo, I want an Oscar that year. Like, Precious somewhere kicking tables. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she just, like, you know what I mean? I think they were up the same year. So it's like, you're not giving the Oscar back. And listen, I love Sandra Bullock. You know what I'm saying? I know this isn't her fault, not her thing. You know what I mean? As far as what happened outside the story that was made and everything presented to her. But I wish somebody like pulled the real guy to say, like, hey, is this accurate? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is this how you recall? Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And if anybody argued that, then maybe somebody would say something. But I don't think anybody even asked them, bro.
Yeah, something passed by very quickly on while I was looking this up, and it seems like there were people like fans that were kind of ripping her for not doing more research on her end to see if all of this was true. And I think the guy that actually played him actually came to her defense in the guy who played him in the movie actually came to her defense like, listen, Sandra's like the nicest actress you ever know. There's no way that they're just as shocked as everybody at these claims and all of that. I think at, at this point, everybody's just going to err on the side of, pure, like, I didn't know. Anybody that gained a cent from this is not going to admit it. So
Facts.
unfortunately, it's his words against everybody else, and but it definitely is making major headway as far as being a hot topic right now.
Got it. That's terrible. I gotta know, man. We both kind of find out about the word conservatory around the same time, but between uh, him probably having the best night of his life here, as far as seeing a dream come to full fruition, and Britney Spears, you see her unraveling now that it's all come back in her plate. Who do you think got conserved the worst? Like, if that makes any sense. Like, who or who had or who would have a better bounce? Who had the better bounce back after getting released?
So who got conserved the worst? I would, if it's true, I would say Michael Oher.
You think so?
Because if it is true, it's unless they can prove that they kept this money somewhere, and once he was of age, they funneled it to him or whatever the case may be. And then it's like, all right, I understand what y'all did.
Mhm.
Brittany, I think they did that out of just sheer protection, because there is video footage of this girl just going down a very dark path, and guidance was necessary. Whether that guidance was manipulated, I mean, hey, anybody who's in a position of power at some point is going to push that power towards their benefit.
Big facts, big facts. That's funny because like it's weird. I know Michael Orr is smarter than Britney, but I think Britney amassed or surpassed his money value over the time. Because like, dude, her early albums probably went diamond, and I mean, she has some real like figures that probably came her way as far as just being platinum and tours and stuff like that. So I think
Mhm.
her money, the amount of money she didn't see, I think is more than the amount of money he didn't see. If that makes any sense. But
Oh, okay. So if it's about money, then I get you.
you know what I mean? That's why who got conserved or served the worst. I think she might have lost, but she now she's really losing in life because now she's got it and now she's losing it. So, but you know,
Yeah.
and,
Definitely.
I do have one more. I do have a few more questions for you though. Let's just say goes to trial. They don't settle this, or they don't give him a fee, or whatever the case may be. Like, do you know the penalties of this by any chance? Like, if having a book and creating millions of revenue, having foundations of all that came to light, do you know how like the penalty of this would be? Would it just be punitive damages, you think?
I think so, man. I mean, it's going to be a hell of a case to prove.
Mm,
You need somebody that can corroborate this, because without any, you know, I would say, documentation showing that at the time of signing, he wasn't in the right mental state, or someone who was physically there, like one of either the husband or the wife turning on each other. Without that, this is tough. This is a tough business.
that's a fact. That's a fact. The only thing I did see on it as far as a penalty was back in 2013. A lawyer got 18 years in prison for not going around the conservatorship, but hiding it to an extent where not only he funneled money from the situation, but he had a lavish lifestyle, very Omni Hellcat in a way. If that makes any
Mm,
sense. Man. When he just took the money, and said, "Yo, I'm out. Whatever
mm,
happens, happens. If they catch me, they catch me." He was living the life as if hey, I know this is running out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
but yeah, they gave him 18 years for that. So like, that would suck. That would truly suck.
Mhm.
That, but life, it's life, man. It's life.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about The Blind Side that I don't know if a lot of people know, in the book White Fragility,
Mhm.
there's an actual reference that she makes to what they call like the white savior. And she uses this movie to depict exactly what she's saying, to say
Mhm.
that yes, they paint this picture of this white family that takes in this black kid who, to your point, has some sort of disability, and just doesn't know anything, doesn't can't you know provide for himself.
Yeah,
But then all of a sudden, this family comes along, and this white lady does all of this stuff for him, puts him in the sport, teaches him how to dress, gets him clothes, gets him a car, gives him a purpose,
yeah, yeah.
and is celebrated for actually doing this. And she paints this picture of, most people look at this and they're so happy for the the black boy and they feel like this is a great story. But if you really think about it, this is a white savior mentality where you see the power dynamic, the systemic dynamic here trying to pull someone out of a systemic dynamic that is not in their favor, right? He was in the projects, his mom was on drugs. It's the perfect storm of what's wrong with America.
That is a perfect book for this term I came across today. Have you ever heard of racialized ableism?
Yes.
I did not until about 3 hours ago. I had to break it down, like ableism itself, like just being discrimination to some extent, but adding the racial tone to it, I was like, oh, that's a whole nother kind of fuckery I didn't even know existed till you put the two words together.
Yeah.
But yeah, the book you read probably premised off this concept, so to speak. And I learn something new every day, man. I love this show that we do here.
Of course. Yeah, definitely, man. And it was so crazy because to the same thing you said, I love that movie. And I remember coming home that day after I read that chapter, and because at the time, my wife, she was watching it like back to back to back because she loves Sandra Bullock. I love Sandra Bullock, right? And yeah, and this is nothing against her, but now I watched the movie again, Kenny, and I'm seeing the little innuendos of, like you said, racialized ableism. And now I can't watch the movie no more. If it's on, I can't watch it.
It's tarnished now. Like it must
Yeah.
it's like a terrible blackface movie now. Like it doesn't feel good anymore. Like you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like but what do you do? Like when the feel good story turns out to be bullshit. Like how do you operate now? How are you supposed to act? What are you supposed to do now? Like I mean, this is usual.
Yeah, unfortunately. um, so I think similar to how we look at movies and they always tell you like some of the scenes or even TV shows, some of these scenes that didn't really happen in reality, they were just added for theatrical, what I'm saying, just to amplify it theatrically. We have to let Blindside be Blindside, but if once our lens has been impacted, it's important that the producers and directors and writers now think about that. Now, they have to be more intentional now. If they're going to put out a product and put money behind it and promote it, they better be damn sure that everything checks out.
For movies, like and offices is like a read the room, but for movies you got to read the set, man. Are any black people like okay with this scene around us? Like, does anybody like? Not that all sets need somebody to go, this is all right. You know what I'm saying? But if it touches that line, you want that opinion. You know what I'm saying? Just to at least feel like you're doing it the right way or it's being portrayed correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it's rough, man. It's rough out there. But to bring it home on a not a somber note before we get to, I do want to highlight his personal life at the moment for what he is doing. But the Tuohy's family lawyer, Martin Singer, he did issue a statement regarding Oher's claims that they're outlandish, offensive, ridiculous. We're only here today because he threatened to go to the public. And he's kind of framing it like it's a shakedown on his part, where it's not his first time or his first attempt trying to do this. You know what I mean? So you're really trying to slander his name. And I'm watching Suits now, and I get it. You got to go after him. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, that's not even the story here, man. The actor got paid more than he did, and it's his story. Like, you know what I mean? That's the fine line it's coming down to. But Oher's lawyer, Don Barrett, he said, listen, man, cases are based on facts. And we were going to have our day in court. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're confident in the judicial system. We're confident in our client. We hope justice is served in a quick manner. Like, you know what I mean? And I really hope it does go that way, because God forbid it goes to trial and he loses. And he did actually sign that agreement's like, damn.
Because it's interesting, because I and of course I gotta double check this, but I'm hearing reports that they're looking to end the conservatorship. I mean, at this point, they've banked out, right? It's like an investment. At some point, you're like, is it really worth it? But yeah.
Like, I was nervous, but if they still have that, I don't know if they expire, these kind of agreements. So I was curious to know if they do have that, can they go after this NFL money? If they did win the case? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, without us, you wouldn't even be there. So, hey, 50% of this is better than 0% of that old life you had. You know what I mean? If they make that a case, he's hurt.
Yeah.
He is hurt.
Absolutely, man.
Okay, what you
Yeah.
think?
So the one thing I would like to know, because usually for, well, it's not technically a biopic on him if you think about it, right? It's more about the wife.
Yeah.
I wonder if the guy who played him, Quentin Aaron, actually met up with him to talk about, to learn his mannerisms, actually, because usually that's what actors do. If they're gonna play somebody in a movie, they connect with them, just kind of watch old tapes and stuff like that.
Correct.
I wonder if at any point Mike said, "Man, they fucking with you, right?"
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I could read, bro. Like, you know what I mean? If it was one of those,
Yeah.
like, it's weird. I would hate for him to have been described on what kind of guy he was instead of getting it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But I really hope he did. And unfortunately, I got to bank on the fact that Mike wasn't aware enough to notice that he's being slandered in that way. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. It was weird. It was super weird with that. But we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, man. But and then the funny thing is, like, if Michael did say, "Yo, man, this ain't really me," I could read, like you said, and then Quentin looked at him and said, "I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm getting paid."
Check clear, bro. Like, I'm saying, like, hey, I got the script for today. I'm gonna read the shit out of this, and I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. But listen, on a happy note, man. Listen, the guy Michael, man, listen, he's got a real family, real wife, real kids, man. You know what I'm saying? He's moved on. Like, listen, long story short, before all the news came out, hey, he was drafted in '09. Got a chip with the Ravens back in 2016, not 2016. He was drafted in '09, won a chip with them in 2013, Super Bowl 47. And, then he retired. Like, you know what I'm saying? Had a good life. If you could get to the league and get a chip out of it, hey, that's a plus. Hall of Fame, we'll see. But if you could get a chip when you're there, you got to appreciate that, man. But
Mhm.
it sucks that he was blindsided, man. It really does. It
Yeah,
really
man.
does.
The Blindsided Con is real, man. Make sure y'all y'all check that paperwork. But that's why it's very important that we look at the systemic flow of information to kids. They do need to be educated more.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that there are plenty of different circumstances that can possibly lead a kid into being adopted. But I really think it's so important that kids really get informed about what their rights are, what their name, like image and likeness really means,
Yes.
because and then we got to treat it like a village, man. If you see a kid out there that looks like they're on the wrong track, make sure you educate them, make sure you steer them back, because you never know who they're going to be.
Bird, you never know, man. Might get a chip, man. So you never know. Take care of
Yeah.
him when you see him. Take care of him when you see him. But yeah, man. Other than that, man, what you got anything else for this FCP quickie?
Nah, man, listen, just out here trying not to get blindsided, bro.
Every day, man. Hey, don't get out in these streets, man. Oh man, until next time, man.
Yes, sir.